The Birth of the Fool. The Stairway to Morn. The magical thrust of the spear, sworn by the oath of two robins. Panic and lust that rose upon the sea. Words of the tongue were silent. Shackle and swords of the beast. Journey went deep through the dark. Course of the wasteland starting to break. Reaping the corn of the salt into the heart. May 26, 2008. Start to break these darkest wounds. May 29, 2008. The course of chemistry. With the present attainment of the golden attributes of the psychical work, in the momentary affliction of the lost soul's reaping of the mind, there unleashed from the existence the cover of the hidden eye's permutation, of hard work to cause confession of history, and to lost effect from profession of tragedy, that in the end would mean seriously the vanity and futility of the hidden message, the messianic resurrection of the forbidden creation and mortal sin, and that which all components of the secret life were waived declaration to subservience and submission to the light upon expediency of kernel extraction and root expense, that only in the abstinence and nothingness of the eternal void of comprehension, where the position of space and negation of time is justly balanced in favor of the one and early thing, one to that of the creation of being, and only from the suspension of the mind, where the nothingness of the void and the everything of infinity counter in balance to that of the sun of amongst three wands, and these were the wands that composed in two parts among themselves by the falling and rising of the swords of the human state, wherewith the sun had within himself confirmed the one and purely fixated state. And there were introduced into the spectrum of knowledge the centerpiece of the hollow bliss, the golden dawn, and all these forms were taken into consciousness and agglutinated from fear and subjected to misery on account of the illusionary magical force, and none of the forms had survived, and they were thus immersed through the experimentation of fire and sulphur, and took upon the shape and resemblance of a murky perceptible swamp, and there the elements changed, died with time and renewing itself through the transmutation of ice and mercury, and took upon the shape and resemblance of a sharp protestable summit, and then the sands of time gave way from much work and frustration to the opening of the mind to the gateway of the abyss, and there were plummeted the forms in creation through all the treachery and destitution of time, lost to all the record and account of of history and tragedy, of procreation and profusion, of life and being, and of love and mind. And these there grew accordingly to the rest of the matter of the grave. Yet somewhere throughout the infinite expansiveness of the boundless abyss there remained the particle of salt, locked in the test of time, and contained many of the foundations to elemental life, and from within its seed there spread many forms of the mind, and gave great precedence to objects of light, subjects of life, and all within the convective energy shown deduction through the time and protective savour of the rays, there rebirthed the atom of the golden spheres. And all rejoiced, and none profused, and one of the many forms of the mind came up to the globe, and pertained within itself the seed and sperm to the further regeneration of archetypal life, and whole stated ground through blood and order. And thereon were the sands. May 29, 2008. To the wheel that turns from eternal exposure. June 1, 2008. The Technicolor Dreamcoat by the Holy Ghost. The call of attention to the blackadder's stand, the fall of the sentence to the cold reaper's hand, the hater by grace, the blinding by love, under the trance of the last wizard's clove, into the vase of the sorrows of night, narrow the stream of the spirals of light, the guarded by moon, the hiding by fate, the start of the god to see his just break, covered by the tears of the host. The work of the form to the last ever thought, the third of the storms that the vast desert wast, the lord of the wand, the horror of the sand, enter the swords of the bitten by frost, over the peak of the stars by the sphinx, end of the love by the heart by two drinks, beginning of breath, born anew, all was to death as death was to all, exposed by the Lord of the Most. June 6, 2008. The waft of might. I remember being really into performance back then. Wishing success in the repertoire, showiness and virtuosity, music beyond the age we were at the time. Days went by. I began pursuing piano music I thought to be more special to me, meaningful. Things were becoming more serious. The music was becoming less showy and more reserved. I remember surrendering the dream I had of fame and fortune as a concert pianist one day, and deciding to become rather a true solo artist. And doors opened into new, original fields of interest, always remaining an artist of things. My music nowadays has definitely a feel to it of concentration and intense meditation. The sound being very chromatic, rugged, and atonal, and mysterious, containing hidden Wagnerian melodies and ideas, but there's more to the conception left for questioning. I know I won't get the strong reactions to my playing now as I had once back in the past, but I know that the symbolism and intention of my tones definitely hits the chord to what I find to be true and noble to myself and of my mind, through the experience and poverty I have been through and will likely go through. The possibility of becoming a concert pianist would always remain. I think the dissonance coming from this future idea would be from the feelings of rejection and prejudice coming from the audience and toward the forefront of the imagination. I don't want to see my new repertoire systemic approach to musical improvisation and observation, including pre-existing scores, to be singled out, maybe in the end. And I want to avoid spreading myself out divertingly over our map without building up local perceivable troops first. It is once the sanctuaries and fortitudes of the existing local community have once been secured, that would I deploy the literal infantry further into the abstract grounds and advance the blitzkrieg and sonic assault forward. There are many flaws and mistakes in doing things, and once it would begin, would it be sworn under oath of death that to the end would it go in either world victory or utter repaid holocaust, and initiating the master plan to the very moments of the beginning onslaught would require feudal wars and inconceivable chores. Fortitude that would require the infiltration and permeation of the town's stockades and barracks to the point of every spade and diamond demanded of to be seized toward rank, security, and power in the method of this warcraft. Yet I envision things beyond my control, and only in the final days of this mind would I enter into a state of morbid obesity and catatonic senility. Yet I will it be done as I have willed it before. The band Sorcerer is really a one-man band. All of the guitars, drums, vocals, lyrics, etc. were written and recorded by my own doing. No one else were involved in the making of the band's artistry. Yea, I seem to know the music would have an underground appeal, verging on the near inaccessible, even to the listening subjects. My writings, for example, consisting of 2+ years of work, not above 2 or 3 examples of review, criticism, or commentary. I think this overlooking circumstance would well be benefited to the idea that this art of the soul is taken beyond grasp, and from introductory initiation, that it is ineffective on the soul from acts of impatience, lack of knowledge and understanding, etc., but only until a firm handling would have been grasped, and the roots of the will having been seized and confirmed would it hold itself into wisdom and comprehension. Indeed, I meditate. I usually try meditating in a constant state, not to awake, as I love death, and my mother, whomever she may be, or wherever she is out there, will always hold true to me in my heart. Yea, at the first stage of long-lasting committed meditation, I had gone without pain and pleasure, and was showering in cold water and freezing weather, trying things one ought to shudder from, for sake of test and tribulation of the state I advanced myself in, as well was sleeping in the woods and withdrawing from medication that supposedly would save my life, asthma, psychiatric meds, etc. This deep level of meditation broke off after a month or two, and I sincerely tried to never look into the past negatively again, and such, and it was very hard to do, and I felt like I was failing many instances and times. Yet my friend and I would go hiking off to creeks far off in the forests and woodlands, and meditate, fighting each other with swords and shields afterwards, sometimes with bare hands. The experiences would never be forgotten. I learned a lot of magic in the occult during the last 2 years, and when I would meditate, I would travel far into the astral planes of the mind, coming across beautiful and grotesque things of matter, gods and visions, etc., and perform various operations in keeping my soul in check and balance from succumbing to the abyss of delusions and chaos. I usually would do this in performance of the will of my natural physical surroundings too, and I think after reading much on Crowley texts and mystic scripts, practicing and theorizing, etc., that I have since assuredly gotten the hang of it. Things in my life had changed for the worse, or what appeared to be the worse, and actually were for the better, in the distance of the end, that is, but home life and school life in that time culminated in such distress and from lack of rescue that things suddenly snapped, and I became opened into an inner path of struggle to overcome insanity and what doctors had labeled as schizophrenia, and I wrote pamphlets and papers in class and in spare time indicating genius and madness, and I became truly an artist of the mind, and things progressed at first into deep and severe depression, self-mutilation, ideas and acts of committing suicide, and then without sympathy or love I was landed into the seat of the institutional law, to mental hospitals, treatment facilities, claiming they were there to care for me, to better me, and I would last in the throes of their dominion for so long that I began to think illogically and disorganized, failing to master the dream I had of becoming a successful concert pianist. Yet the disorganization was always hidden so that I could get out from the chambers as soon as possible and return home, however unsettling and depressing the environment would be. Well, I indeed returned home from the treatment facility after a good chunk of my teenage years had been spent and used up in there at the hospitals. At the age of 15, I was back in my mother's home with my stepfather, and things continued to become so severe that I didn't want to fall back into my depression and self-mutilation of the past, so as to end up right back in the mental facilities, that I attacked my stepfather and had him thrown to the ground, ready to choke him to death, and all the family would rush into the room and banish me down in their grasp. I remember I would run away after the moment was over, and had taken myself shelter in a decrepit shed at an apartment complex further down the street. I came back home and knew I wouldn't continue existing with him, and I made plans arranged for the stay at my biological father's home. Staying there at my true father's home was the loneliest and most agonizing, dementing part of my life spent during my youth. And my mind truly became out there, knowing myself with no option to peace and security, comfort and happiness. And I had been dressing in black, wearing jewelry and sweatbands and the like. This persevered to utmost practice in addiction when I would be wearing entire black outfits 7 days for every week, showing what repulsive and tragic death I would have fostered within me. Well, the stay at my father's house lasted from age 16 to age 19. There were endless instances of abuse and mind-deranging humiliation, and during the end of the stay at 19, having pulled enough strength and discipline together by reading abstract philosophy and approach to basic existential life, I attempted bringing my father down from his throne in all his inversion and thunderclaps, and I applied the practice of beyond good and evil to every way and instance of life and occasion, and so that a few weeks into the trance and subconscious primal existence, I heard from my brother Final, who was living with me at the time, that the father would be coming home more angry than he's ever been, and I knew nothing in the world could stop him from the monstrous animosity and juvenile tantric degradations that was within him. I left his house for the streets with everything I could fit and preserve packed into the car, the vehicle running poorly and defective, and I understood the reality of the harshness and severity it would be living on the streets without adequate preparation, and so having no other idea who or where to turn to. I would arrive to my mother's place one evening, and the stepfather was sitting out there on the porch, and he and I were about to get into the most brutal match we would ever get into, and since my mind had been functioning desperately to calm people's nerves and bring them to their senses for the past several weeks, I was able to avoid the match, and either the possible slaughter or domination, but the yelling continued, and my mind had become into so much intensive distress that a gradual tear entered my eye, and what was first quiet sobbing eventually turned into a full-blown mental breakdown, and I was on the ground out there, shivering past convulsion, and shriveling from lack of blood to the brain, to the point of paralysis, and my stepfather concluded of my insanity, and since then I would have fallen into delusional trap, fearing who it would be that believed that fabrication and horrible prejudice of so-called insanity. But I eventually moved out from the motel I was staying at, moved into a room on my own in San Marcos, and things became very reflective from then on, and I never understood myself again the way I used to in the past. I quit working at a piano warehouse in October 2006, and I turned myself into a mental institution, so bent and consumed by the conclusion my stepfather had of me, and after I left the hospital early, feeling how a natural open field environment would be best suited for me, rather than a cramped, dusty, stifling bedroom, then began a worthwhile outdoors pursuit with a friend I had known since my birth date, and I had a lot of money since inherited to me, and I used that inheritance to my advantage and stayed out of work and continued my pursuits for a very long time, running out of money in October of 2007 and becoming homeless once again. Yet I moved back into my father's house with no other way to remain indoors to pay for the rent. The time away from work over that past year had been so successive in culminating to mental destruction from financial bankruptcy. I knew during my break just how hard it would be getting a job and paying the bills with money from a place to work. My mind had long been lost in delusions and ineffable reflections. Fortunately, I made my way clear from going onto the streets. However, the environment I would be going into would be the same chambers of death I had experienced back in the past 3 paralyzing years. Yet fortunately, the time I would be going into would turn out to be a much safer and comfortable existence this time than ever it was before, due to the change of time both my father's mind and mine had acquired over the years. I have since been employed twice and kept safe from the irreparable delusions that had once plagued me in the existence out in the open fields of loneliness and solid mystery. Anyway, I will to success. May 2008. The Lord of Totality. I've been writing prose work mostly pertaining to the Tao. I've been doing this with a lot of work lately. One, entering the chaos abyss, the routine existentialism, then dwelling in hermitage on the path of sorrow and solitude, clerical flagellation and mutilation by priests of the higher realms, mass incarnations of my brother Final, most young, see Devil or Beast, card 15, and the emperors of falling empires, parents, law, etc., how all record of continuous struggle could once be achieved and withered away by the act of motherly love, or card 3, Empress of the Tarot, once long forgotten and forbidden in my mind, and into death, meaning woman, mother, daughter, etc., would record deride, and out from world foolishness would nothing arrive, a life of death and love. June 13, 2008. The Ace of Spades, exposing rides in leather dress, 140 times past his rest, weak old limp, perverted wound, holly wand, into crypts of gaze. June 13, 2008. The Triumph of Death. Vagina Dentata. From the Woman's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets by Barbara Walker. Toothed vagina, the classic symbol of men's fear of sex, expressing the unconscious belief that a woman may eat or castrate her partner during intercourse. Freud said probably no male human being is spared the terrifying shock of threatened castration at the sight of female genitals, but he had the reason wrong. The real reason for this terrifying shock is a mouth symbolism, now recognized universally in myth and fantasy. It is well known in psychiatry that both males and females fantasize as a mouth the female's entranceway to the vagina. The more patriarchal the society, the more fear seems to be aroused by the fantasy. Men of Malakula, having overthrown their matriarchates, were haunted by a eunuch spirit called that which draws us to it, so that it may devour us. The Yanomamo said one of the first beings on earth was a woman whose vagina became a toothed mouth and bit off her consort's penis. Chinese patriarchs said women's genitals were not only gateways to immortality, but also executioners of men. Muslim aphorisms said, 3 things are insatiable: the desert, the grave, and a woman's vulva. Polynesians said the savior god Maui tried to find eternal life by crawling into the mouth or vagina of his mother Hina, and in effect trying to return to the womb of the creatress, but she bit him in two and killed him. Stories of the devouring mother are ubiquitous in myths, representing the death fear which the male psyche often transformed into a sex fear. Ancient writings describe the male sexual function not as taking or possessing the female, but rather being taken or putting forth. Ejaculation was viewed as a loss of man's vital force, which was eaten by a woman. The Greek sema or semen meant both seed and food. Sexual consummation was the same as consuming the male. Many savages still have the same imagery. The Yanomamo word for pregnant also means satiated or full fed, and to eat is the same as to copulate. Distinction between males and female genitals was blurred by the Greek idea of the Laminae, lustful she-demons born of the Libyan snake goddess Lamia. Their name meant either lecherous vaginas or gluttonous gullets. Lamia was a Greek name for the divine female serpent called Kundalini in India, Uraeus or Per-Uatchit in Egypt, and Lamashtu in Babylon. Her Babylonian consort was Pazuzu, he of the serpent penis. Lamia's legend, with its notion that males are born to be eaten, led to Pliny's report on the sexual lives of snakes, which was widely believed throughout Europa even up to the 20th century. The male snake fertilizes the female snake by putting his head into her mouth and allowing himself to be eaten. Sioux Indians told a tale similar to that of the Lamia. A beautiful, seductive woman accepted the love of a young warrior and united with him inside a cloud. When the cloud lifted, the woman stood alone. The man was a heap of bones, not being gnawed by snakes at her feet. Mouth and vulva were equated in many Egyptian myths. Manu, the western gate whereby the sun god daily re-entered his mother, was sometimes a cleft yoni, sometimes a mouth. Priestesses of Bast, representing the goddess drew up their skirts to display their genitals during religious processions. To the Greeks, such a display was frightening. Bellerophon fled in terror from the Chian woman, advancing on him with genitals exposed, and even the sea god Poseidon retreated, for fear they might swallow him. According to Philostratus, magical women by arousing sexual desire seek to devour whom they wish. To the patriarchal Persians and Muslims, this seemed a distinct possibility. Viewing women's mouths as either obscene, dangerous, or overly seductive, they insisted on veiling them. Yet men's mouths, which looked no different, were not viewed as threatening. Mouth comes from the same root as mother. Anglo-Saxon mut, also related to the Egyptian goddess Mut. Vulvas have labiae, lips, and many men have believed that behind the lips lie teeth. Christian authorities of the Middle Ages taught that certain witches, with the help of the moon, magic spells, could grow fangs in their vaginas. They likened women's genitals to the yawning mouth of hell, though this was hardly original. The underworld gate had always been the yoni of Mother Hell. It has always yawned, from Middle English yonen, another derivative of yoni. A German vulgarity meaning cunt, Fotze in parts of Bavaria meant simply mouth. To Christian ascetics, hell mouth and the vagina drew upon the same ancient symbolism. Both were equated with the womb symbol of the whale that swallowed Yonah. According to this prophecy, the hell mouth swallowed Christ, as Hina swallowed her son Maui, and kept him for 3 days. Visionary trips to hell often read like a description of the experience of being born, but in reverse, as if the child was being drawn into the womb and destroyed there, instead of being formed and given life. Saint Teresa of Avila said her vision of a visit to hell was an oppression, a suffocation, and an affliction so agonizing, and accompanied by such a hopeless and distressing misery that no words I could find would adequately describe it. To say that it was as if my soul were being continuously torn from my body is as nothing. The archetypal image of devouring female genitals seems undeniably alive even in the modern world. Males in our culture are so afraid of direct contact with female genitalia, and are even afraid of referring to these genitalia themselves, they largely displace their feelings to the accessory or sex organs, the hips, legs, breasts, buttocks, etc. And they give these accessory sex organs an exaggerated interest and desirability. Even here, the male scholar inexplicably displaces the words sex organ onto structures that have nothing to do with sexual functioning. Looking into, touching, entering the female orifice seems fraught with hidden fears, signified by the confusion of sex with death in overwhelming numbers of male minds and myths. Psychiatrists say sex is perceived by the male unconscious as dying. Every orgasm is a little death, the death of the little man, the penis. Here, indeed, is the root of ascetic religions that equated the denial of death with the denial of sex. Muslims attributed all kinds of dread powers to a vulva. It could bite off a man's eye beam, resulting in blindness for any man who looked into its cavity. A sultan of Damascus was said to have lost his sight in this manner. Christian legend claimed he went to Sardinia to be cured of his blindness by a miraculous idol of the Virgin Mary, who, being eternally virgin, had her door mouth permanently closed by a veil hymen. Apparently, Freud was wrong in assuming that men's fear of female genitals was based on the idea that the female had been castrated. The fear was much less empathetic and more personal, a fear of being devoured, of experiencing the birth trauma in reverse. A Catholic scholar's curious description of the hell mouth as a womb inadvertently reveals this idea. When we think of man entering hell, we think of him as establishing contact with the most intrinsic, unified, ultimate, and deepest level of the reality of the world. June 15, 2008. The heart of magic. In the runic wand, the sorceries that shall conquer this fear. Is it possible to wind through these darkest of walls? I will it, so my death will be done. And inside, with no further respect. June 15, 2008. The love of death. Seeking anatomical proportion through the vast fields of the insatiable desert, the sick dismemberment, ruminating upon the cold grave of the night, he scattered the 4 parts of the corpse across the barren wasteland and destined him to the edge of the total universe. Clinging unto the fate of the mother's womb of fading, the cord from the lustrous sanctuaries of pure bliss and harmony, then sent into the dark ashes abysmal frontiers and horrid floors of chaos hordes, There he befell unto the fears of the light that would he have come to the tears of the night, and then give steady impulse to reconsideration and contemplation, to collecting and remembering the stowed and ducted frames of mind, and uniteth the soul and heart into the communion of sanctimous waves and holier sounds of beauteous grounds, that all the appendages and secular veins of blood and brain might give ring unto the fountain of light. And history giveth him thy recording, and love giveth him thy sentence, that the beautiful spell and clear the brain, forth the coming of the god, that then into the side of the splendid moon and the victorious night, that all he beheld went under her sign, and dispossessed his spell by the undulating rhythm toward the orgasmic height of passion and death, and that he may rest all and nourish within her, and give his love to her next the night, by wave of the hell floor, raised and grazed, part of the tall door, enraged and graced, together that corpse from the coming resurrection and the beauteous spell, the birth and separation for the coming of man, sentenced into the heart and into the dark, thy wisdom and understanding, thy love and thy death. Lord, June 16, 2006. The right of none, the reign of truth, philosopher, stargazer, warrior, nothing more than a ploy through the despised ministers of propaganda, the machine, working itself to a near conclusion, spent of minds, reaped of souls, for all and for none. One must not be mistaken, the effect was deadly, more twisted than a mere illusion, a fabled folly. The philosopher king, gazer of the stars, master of the conquest, exposed and endured madness into the end, an ocean of remains, raising of the continuum, but only for a while. June 20, 2008. The gate of madness, sliding fingers from the edge to total annihilation, regressing forward in the final reach, it is once dismembered. Mortal desire. June 22, 2008. 400. History redeemed, with sword and arrow. What did he symbolize in life? Something sharp, bold, and menacing. Maybe they communicated together, but one entity. Heart, mind, and soul. He missed her, very much and deep. More than records formed the chasm, the lost serenades. She wouldn't speak of the past, the disease and death of the mind, overcome, yet through time. Thy spirit. Was he overwhelmed and foolish? I meant to comfort her, and her only, with thy love, nourishment, and protection. The events and studies of the night have relinquished thy will even further. But may I nurture. The night hath been confusing. I was struggling to understand her. May I understand thee. Who am I? What am I? What have I been? And what will I be? Thy existence. Won't I understand? Deep in the abyss, and I feel that I am attaining the greatest darkness. Am I changed and lost? Time becometh space. Change, the mere existence. Expansion. He struggled alone. He did the best he could to fight through with it. What did he begin to see? He has seen. Action and conquest. Command of the sand. He didn't want to be let down. Thrown into the pit. Full on ahead. He seized upon the crown. Usurper of the throne of reason. He called upon the gates. Into the heart of Ares' scourge. Axes and spades. Petals and flames. Harshness. The balsam and comfort. Exposure from the vault. A slave driver's sin and command. Phallic symbols of war between father and son, motherly innocence among the wreckage, fury of the heart, passions amid the wreck. Thy father and thy mother will I be disposed. I won't. That driving to the annals of mysticism and parallelism is due for fear of sterility and impotence. Probably symbolism for becoming reality I don't want to witness. Impotence and dissent. Behind the thrones, course of storms. There lied a feeble man, reckoned in his own eyes. Fallen are his traitors, destruction in his wish, untiring sin. Yet will he prevail, only in the dream. Yet will the dream become reality. Is he good? Am I good? What am I? A feeling of mercy, compassion, penitence. What is it? This I may understand. Good is something I am not, something I won't be. Is he eternally determined? Yet good and bad I shall summon upon liberty, in my distress and passion, idealism and rest. I lay thy cards upon thy table, upon thy deepest will, and wars and chores of chaos hordes may summon thee upon thy ascent to the night. Yet will I remain, alone in the dark, under command of the wicked and united. Thy repentance, I wish thy life upon the coloured storms, that I may rest upon the bosom of the elder lady chasm, and cry unto the night, screaming by eye and mouth, under the vault of gaping sin. For wisdom, so I wish, yet ever to go, remembered, and all I wish is death. Thy phallus, lift into the highest realm, birth and creation, archetype and formation, something not so implied, and redeemed. I fear I may be called upon, and wicked. Thy life, denial of its very own will, and I may never be brought to the task of its own completion. Thy ground is cherished, yet I learn to cover my true will, and deny its affirmation, live to seek thy heart and restoration, the very will's command, through mist and wisdom, always through sensation and appearance, whatever depth it may seek. All I can do is wait, seek, my own true calling, thy life and death, and heart and breast, so much good words seek to restore thy peace, and conflict, words, death, peace, restoration, redemption, revival, rebirth, innocence. These are things she may help thee with. May she help thee, and that you have been helping, you have helped. And he thought it was time for just maturity, in an age of reason, depth and permission, to revive and renew, and begin a fresh new life. And may I love, nurtured through death and breath, thy rest, only the life of thee remembereth. He was lost in thought, recalling some memory, confused, yet comforted, glad. They both vanished significantly from each other, in search of thy death, and chastity from the winds. Hallowed come thy name among thy brethren, or the deceivers of thy wish. I repose for you. Go to rest. Farewell, thy lady, for once and ever. June 23, 2008. The Spear of Destiny. The dry salt before the late forest green, membrane of a born divine salvation, home to the fish of the grail, food of the stars. The Father that gave the sun through Mercury, deep in the morning safe, and into the night of the robe of death, the leader that waved the crown through chatter, drawn through the old morning light, he saved the bath for the feet, start of the field to the everlasting meal, swarm of the whore, and into the hellish door. She gave the balsam vinaigrette, and healed the pain through faint exhaustion. So reserveth thy cup, and carry on thy sentence, and return to the darkest corridor walls, to invadeth thee and hint, the sneer to the word of the widow, the order through dawn. Ring for the spear of the day, pierced through the thigh, blood on the cross, poured to the high, death and defeat through lunar affliction. User of the waft to magic, summoner of the fortress of might, deceiver of the love through justice, into the heart of the mind, division of the total fool. Right in the heart of the morning light, cries of the sun through brothers, a flying swan that once was shot, a young man born was silent. Lips and the tongue, to not know his own tears, the thought of his heart, who were his elders, the death of the heart, tears and dreams, collapse unto the underworld. Space was moving, scarcely moving, the rival to the walls of the grail, the light that received communion, the voice of the vision that once was heard. He uncovered the grail, racked with pain and suffering, the fortress of illusion, the crying for compassion, in await of the recovery. Opening of the heart, merging of the blood through salt, pain of the heart and forgiveness, searching the waters for fish, deep in the abyss of the night, fallen and deride. Symbols beyond comprehension, the vision of the fool, darkness and mystery, hatred and scourge, the magic domain, the ringing of echoes, fallen into the trap, the magic act, thrown into the incredulous alluring bosom, spell of the overthrown lord, awakening the name of the final completion, the broken pact. Flowers were sent to the heart, over the top in grief, deeper understanding the death through all, second the heart to assist, thrown with the spear, seizure and commotion, wisdom and motion, aeon of Horus, aeon of Osiris, time and temperance, art and act, Isis, death and renewal, Friday and the good, holy water gave birth, the word that was meant to serve. A upon the hour of dawn, over the crest of the meadow lawn, he came across an armored knight. He carried the will of the fallen cross, the total fool that found compassion in the heart of mind, baptism and restoration. Into the dark of night, and everything was rotten in sin. He plunged the spear deep into the wound, and raised the grail of the blood, the love and death, to heal the light that glowed before the castle hall. June 23, 2008. The will to retaliate. I am empty and deplete. To sacrifice any recovery in place of revenging my past and my world, and that I would do until the end. To any restoration, death of my heart, I am an empty shell, slipping from the cliff edge, not going to react lightly, like a cornered animal, a frightened dying beast, diseased and unstoppably groundless. My world, the throne has gone, a past so bleak and miserable, waiting for any moment to strike. When moments became ready, pain for pleasure, I was dead, and would remain, into the end. June 25, 2008. The table of command. So here we are, in passing. This is who I was, and then some. And who are you, and where? There will be more in this scourge, to know, and to feel. June 27, 2008. The return of day. Time. In sum. 12 equals soul. 1 plus 2 equals 3. Empress. Love. Serenity. 14 equals heart. 1 plus 4 equals 5. Hierophant. Morality. Law. 19 equals mind. 1 plus 9 equals 10 equals 1. Magician. Light. Phallus. In sequence equals flesh. Dot. Abyss. Chaos. Pandemonium. Slipping. Pulling from blackened edge. Return to the Viii. Succession. Triumph in. Flesh. Mind. Heart. Soul. Will of the chariot. Thought of the tarot. Touch of the Terran. To growth and death. In love and breath. To my Viii. June 30, 2008. The sands of hell. I only deceived. I hope to rest. I want to live and to die and to love as a pure saint. Do you want to reset? And would I change, grow and renew and re-begin? Death and the end of work, love and the birth of will. An inducted bond to harvest thy rebirth, cycle and rotation, a portal of infinity, an ideal of death through love and marriage, fire and opus, trial and hope. My life would begin. From muddled ground and beauteous wounds, spirited gold and harmonious rose, the work in sequence and cycling. My wish being only fair, old and grown, lost in the backyard pits, hardened by the lustrous mounds and wounds of grieving. The shirt itself is wearing thin, the skin requests healing, but only for the most. Penultimate sense, effortless death, closing split, golden will, holy sun. Oh, I am so lost. I want to come back. Is it so beautiful and hopeful? I may believe. Only death is real. May I lose myself and inherit the mind. But I worry I may be okay. I may remember only you. The deepest and truest thing I fear is it too deep to comprehend lightly. I don't feel able to sin and to complete the philosopher's stone. I think, yet I know, thy death and thy wisdom, higher ideals for no mortals, yet the abyss, the highest resting ground for all thy sensation. 3 equals death, in between 3 plus 4 equals da'at, 4 and so on to 9 equals real. The light of day, I seek beyond myself. When the abyss cometh to play, and thy sands of blood uniteth amongst thy brethren, and Yosef in the Christ may wear the coat of many colours, the prophets, Saviour, and hero. I have known myself to the heroism within, and I would seek unity between the one and the many. In doing so may createth thy profoundest abysm, and likewise thy rest, and always insensate. I am the waters, and the fish, the fisherman, and the heart of mind, and soul, and flesh, and decay, and breath. Who am I? What was I doing here? All that remains is the bitterness of delusion. I will find, yet I don't understand. I am perfect, and near death, yet I feel I'm perceived not so, that I may be in error. This error may draw criticism. This perfection began in appearance. Who am I really? I am nothing really, and something in between, innocent and golden, sun and day. I am a child. I may be a child, but I don't want it. I act like a child around the golden cove. I act limp and fallen. I don't want to. I would never procreate and see the light of day. My son and daughter, I want to carry on, to ingest, rebirth, and carry the steel-bearing hand for the wand of God. Inmost, I may dissent and strive for final completion, the final solution for this mound of wounds. Only the death of thee would scare me, and for whom? Something unconquerable, beyond perfection, ideal and true, pure. Into the crypts of death, July 5, 2008. I am the rose, July 5, 2008. Day, July 19, 2008. The master of none. None shall stand. War dark, to live the night. And dark warriors, horrible warriors. Immortality, and his dream. It was but a dream. The aids in hell, the wicked old spell. To kick him in command, the devil's cold hand. Is starting to break, and into the night. I've got some words, to say they knew. What shall you bring here? My thoughts were once complete. Terrible horror, they were new to the line. Simple and once, everything twice. Wicked command, wrecked spell. I'm one with hell hammer, crushing bones, reeking bodies. I'm on command, and entering the night. Dark warriors, living the night. Aids in command, quivering in hand. Starting to break, they shall hoard the grave. Hey, I went the way, so yeah, apparently I'm a little scary. Haha, you loonies, I'm from the grave, brought back to my life. See you in hell, will, and call me Ishmael. 1, sort of, 2, mother, 3, death. Ishmael, 1, ish, will, thing, I, ego, self. 2, ma, mouth, mother, vulva, water. 3, L, death. 3, Bina, black, Saturn. Elohim, I'm here somewhere. Ishmael rides the abyss. 3rd of the storms. Fool hunter. Wool, womb, will, whale, veil, vol, vulva, mothra, mouth, mother. He who wills the mother, this mother death. I'm going through my mind. I feel big on tears. Haha, you tunes. August 13, 2008. The 7 of Naught. So this is it, the archetype. Into the crypts of rays, the magic glyph. To wonder how and what the whole lettering of the morbid tale's utterances would reveal. Among the waters. August 14, 2008. The Crypt of Rays. August 20, 2008. The Strength of Mind. Read St. Mark. Destroyer. Martin Eric Ain. Sorcerer. Thomas Gabriel Warrior. Philosopher King. The Crown. Fallen to the ground. Man's mind to descend from the formless. August 21, 2008. The Crown of Beauty. You love to sing, to bring us to death. Gardens reminiscent, aches before the sun. Hurry on the rose, feathers ever distant. 7 petals fade, shallow buds respond. Tetragrammaton, you and we are one. The candle is lit, the laughter for dawn. Most of us to shame, not without the throne of eyes. Sifting through the golden glass, eater for the wine. Powder of the runic bag, stars before the mind. Coffins under vision, rays before the life. Shimmers from the sunken land, the new ascended light. August 27, 2008. The fountain of light. Joke in the thought. When the concept appears in every end to life and misery as a faking of means and end goal to pursuit of the truest madness, liberty and delusion, the form of which inhabits the mind of the great philosophers, artists and kings, the prophet, genius and hero, aloof in the representations of acts, thoughts, sections and ideas, shown in the impression of the mind of artistic representation, and of exposing enlightenment through keenly sensitive idea, position to the end. August 29, 2008. The world of thought, Hey, illusions of the self. Reality has become the dream, the laughing to death of the philosopher. Tunes, September 6, 2008. The fool of death. Hey, ha ha ha. Remember, the holy man. Hey, he was fooling around. Okay, what happened? Ta-da! September 17, 2008. The death of foundation. So am I here. Things are bright, like dinosaur music. The warrior of day. Donald's all thumbs. Ha ha ha! Hot damn! The furthest distance, right in the eyes. Noon, Saturn. Yeah. September 22, 2008. The eye of matter. The furthest distance, as right in the eyes. The love of death, laying right beyond this mind. This dust. Why? It sends to this abyss, only to burst through thy flesh. September 23, 2008. The Lord of Death. Remember, it's all passing my eyes. October 6, 2008. Messiah. From the desert, to the sands, to the keys, to the light. Sunday. October 8, 2008. Rosenkreuz. Hey, Christ. What? And death. So it is written. To do more. Go some. Work to nut. Then light. Haha. October 13, 2008. Kingdom. Hey, listen. I am crucifix. This Sunday, I am hanged. October 18, 2008. Foundation. Hey, Adam Kadmon, dead creator, the first and last, healer of many, lord of the chast. Resigned. October 20, 2008. Splendor. No, master, chains, sin, lords. I am your chastity, son of man. See my eye, denial of fate, messenger of master juggling. October 20, 2008. Victory. Yeah, so they have come to pass. The crowned beauty, freedom of command, apart missed lance, in pain and fear, the time was near. After the summon, the time was right. Passion of the Christ, blood on the eye, the crown lay still. One curse was sent, raised on the seat, split to the foot, revelation of the word, covered by the sword. Vanity of the wand, coming of the sand, night and moon of the bearing man, ending of the lance. Ha ha! October 20, 2008. Beauty. I am what I am. Messiah. October 27, 2008. Severity. Hey, priest, the light, the throne, derides. Tonight, where is it? 3 spears, thigh bone ceremony. November 3, 2008. Mercy. Hey, so may I come back? Was nothing the same? Spears. November 11, 2008. The birth of the fool. The birth of the fool. In the garden of Wish and Eve. To the song of heaven and hell. She raised the spirit from the feet, and drew the disc of 4 past corners, the guarding of the world. Fish, in the wound of love and will. Calling to the year of judgments, right in the bleeding mother's heart, he placed the lovers for the swim, the splendor of the start. Bearing to the son of compassion, fate to the kid of rays, he formed the path of 3 past windows, the fleeting of the day. Coming to the sphere of suffering, cast to the cold wounded heart, under the spell of 3 black weapons, the meaning of the dark. Pouring to the blood of memory, mate of the newborn fish, he rested to the wound of the window, the filling of the wish. Falling to the world of arrows, lift to the serpent of sin, he lost to the spectres of doomsday sorrow, the ending of the swim. Birth, in the eye of creation and sin. Coming to the firstborn path, right to the healing daughter's arm, birth to the servant of suffering, the forming of the heart. Mourning to the son of harmony, faith to the breast of grace, she flowed to the path of 3 past letters, the freeing of the chain. Falling to the floor of nothingness, heart to the empty concrete, under the spell of 3 past windows, the meaning of the heat. Rising to the soul of heaven, fate to the old morning fish, he passed to the world of the empty window, the coming of the wish. Sitting to the throne of justice, palm to the hand complete, he turned to the day of 3-act mirrors, the moving of the wrist, growth, the hand of formation and saint. Turning to the right-hand path, gone to the bleeding father's tower, he heard of the sister of the bleeding flower, the missing of the wound. Walking to the sand-thrown desert, old to the forlorn staff, he learned to the path of sorrow, the nearing of the flight. Bending to the foot of mercy, cool to the lust of chance, he bathed to the man of lust and worry, the calming of the sand. Sending to the brim of dust and working, fence to the end of day, he lured to the hand of the final love bath, the splitting of the path. Showing to the new-formed saint, opening to the blood of day, he held to the path of sorrow, the clearing of the fence. Risen in the house of act and suffering, bowing to the feet of the learned priest, cult to the bath of wisdom, he closed to the door of sin, the listening of the path. Holding to the spear of destiny, crowned to the end of days, he ruled to the sun of writing wisdom, the guarding of the day. Leading to the past of mending, stand to the final rays, he rested to the wound of the window, the seeking of the weight, crossed in the crown of past memory. Ascending to the throne of majesty, bound to the moonlit rain, he flew to the rest of the window, the rising of the weight. Standing to the gates of paradise, bathing to the heavens' light, he said to the world of the afterlife, the key of the flight. Rising to the past of wishfulness, flight to the final of time, he sent to the wound of the window, the fish of the light. November 13, 2008. Understanding the birth of the fool, in the garden of wish and Viii, to the song of heaven and hell, she raised the spirit from the feet, and drew the disc 4 past corners, the guarding of the world. The mother and father are aspiring for a newborn son. The garden represents the ovum, Viii as the woman before the fall of Eden, and the beginning and source of the son's life. Wish as in aspiring for the birth of the child, the way to be the fool, as in the return to the Viii of the fishes, where fish shall symbolize the sperm and matter of the womb. Where she raised the spirit from the feet, she represents the mother. Spirit was originally scepter or wand, it was originally plural. The feet represents the first step of the fool's journey to light, or enlightenment. The more obscure symbolism being the raising of the to-be son from the klipots, or demonic forces of the hidden sephira of the Kabbalistic tree of life, toward that of Malkut, Brown, Ten, Earth, Daughter, etc., and hence locating the sun of the path to everlasting light. Guarding of the world, being referenced to the 4 elements of the corners of the world, or mystic cherubim. Symbols were drawn from the world card for this first paragraph of the A.E. Waite Tarot deck, the card being 21, the world. The Hebraic letter corresponding to this card is T, and it means cross. Fish, in the wound of love and will. The father's sperms fertilized the ovum to the wound, or womb, of the to-be mother. Love and will as cognate and replicate to good and evil. Wound could also be considered garden. Calling to the year of judgments, right in the bleeding mother's heart, he placed the lovers for the swim, the splendor of the start. The card being 20, judgments, the letters sh, it means tooth. The horn of the card's spirit calls for transformation. The word year was originally horn, then became to spear, and even ear, before settling on its accordance of year, as the term judgment on the tarot could have been interchangeable with that of the word aeon, or year. See for instance Crowley's deck. This year could represent vaguely the formation time of the child in the womb, albeit the process in actuality being a little less taken. In any event, he placed the lovers for the swim. He, of course, represented as the father, and lovers for the swim as the acting of the semen. The splendor of the start as the beginning of the son's gestation in the womb. This paragraph was reflected from meditation on Malkut to Hod, 10 to 8, brown to orange, earth to mercury, etc., and given its form. Bearing to the son of compassion, fate to the kid of rays, he formed the path of 3 past windows, the fleeting of the day. This card being 19, the sun, the letters R means head. Bearing could be referred to the time changing with the sun in the womb. Life draws in him, the time comes near. The sunny days are spent in the womb. The 3 past windows represented the nearing of time in the Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama, or more assuredly the way to the fate of the son's life, and the secret here being the beginning of enlightenment and transcendence or transfer of his light to the mother's own transformation, that of the daughter, then symbolizing the ending and beginning of his love and death. Coming to the sphere of suffering, cast to the cold wounded heart, under the spell of 3 black weapons, the meaning of the dark. The paragraph inference from the card 18, the moon, the letters K, meaning needle. The path on the tree of life I reflected from and chose to be falling from Netzach to Malkut, rather than rising to the sphere, the fall to degradation, the night of dark and cold. And here the paragraph gets its tone. 3 black weapons being in magic, of course, is the scourge, dagger, and chain, using these such when in needs of sanctifying and purifying the Holy Spirit. Sphere could be interchanged with spear. Pouring to the blood of memory, mate of the newborn fish. He rested to the wound of the window, the filling of the wish. This card being referenced from 17, the star. The letters H is it means behold. The splendid woman of the card pours the blood or water in the stint of hope and remembering. The woman could be the mother. The water could be the dark and cold of the night, reconciled and forgiven. The window again being the looking glass into the fate of the son's to-be life and legend. Falling to the world of arrows, lifted to the serpent of sin, he lost to the spectres of doomsday sorrow, the ending of the swim. 16. The tower, the letters P, it means mouth. The world of arrows being the womb become too small for the pains of the lustering child to be born. The serpent of sin being the driving force that expels the babe out of the womb and into the realm of the spectres of sorrow. Doomsday being the end of the womb of the swim. Birth, in the eyes of creation and sin. The eye being senses and matter, sin being of course action and will, forsaken and vain are all of his suffering. Coming to the firstborn path, right to the healing daughter's arm, birth to the servant of suffering, the forming of the heart. See 15, the devil, the letters it means I. See as well Hod to Tipperet, 8 to 6. The healing daughter being the mother in material persona, and her arm being the babe's first cradle and restitution. The mother is the daughter as the daughter is the mother. Yod He, Wow He. The forming of the heart being in magic, of course, the forming of the Ruach and spirit emanations of the Kabbalistic tree of life. See 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, and 4. Warning to the son of harmony, faith to the breast of grace. She flowed to the path of 3 past letters, the freeing of the chain. See 14, temperance. Tipperet to Yesod, 6 to 9. The letter is S, it means support. This paragraph is where the babe drinks his first milk from the breast of the mother. Falling to the floor of nothingness, heart to the empty concrete, under the spell of 3 past windows, the meaning of the heat. 13. Death, Tipperet to Netzach, 6 to 7. Letter equals N, it means fish. See beauty to fertility. The end being emptiness, the rays destroy the earth. The son ascends puberty and departs from his mother. He studies his growth. Rising to the soul of heaven, fate to the old morning fish. He passed to the world of the empty window, the coming of the wish. 12. The hanged man, Hod aspiring to Geburah. Splendor receives severity. Orange to red. Letter equals N, it means water. Keep in mind the rising to the soul of heaven and keeping the heart. He passed to the world of the empty window, being the emptying and completing of the wound of his departure. The sun is red with blood and fire. Sitting to the throne of justice, palm to the hand complete, he turned to the day of 3-act mirrors, the moving of the wrist. 11. Justice. Geburah returneth to Tipperet. Letter equals Ol, it means staff. All in all, this paragraph being the sword of action in his reason's exaction. Growth, in the hand of formation and saint. The growing of the son, from puberty to young adulthood. The trying of his error. The hand of passion and mercy, aiding in poverty. Turning to the right-hand path, gone to the pleading father's tower, he heard of the sister of the bleeding flower, the missing of the wound. 10. The wheel of fortune. Netzach aspires Kesed, victory to mercy. The letter is K, it means palm of hand. This is his first turn to mercy, to the right-hand path of wisdom. The pleading father's tower being the coming ashes of a day, an age of fire and sin. It is also a turn in the path to the overlaying hint of resting and comfort of his heart, due to the services of suffering that he shall commence to follow. Walking to the sand-thrown desert, old to the forlorn staff, he learned the path of sorrow, the nearing of the flight. 9. The hermit, Mercy to beauty, sunlight, youth, etc. Letter equals E. It means a hand. The aging man reflecting the days upon his youth, returning with indifference and apathy. He returns to his path. Bending to the foot of mercy, cool to the lust of chance, he bathed to the man of lust and worry, the calming of the sand. 8. Strength. Mercy towards severity. 4 to the earlier 5. The letter is a T. It means serpent. Sending to the brim of dust and working, fence to the end of day. He lured to the hand a final love bath, the splitting of the path. 7. The chariot. Severity to understanding. Letter equals K. It means fence. The brim of dust and working being the edge of life or dust, and its coming end of its labor and suffering. The fence being the gate or gateway to death and understanding of the end of his journey of life. He lured to the hand a final love bath, being the last and final affirmation of the will to live toward the self, the replica now being denial of the will to live toward the self. In place of the world and others, note the similarity between the more popular between the more popular word of use in this phrase, this being others or other, and its nearly exact distinction to that of the word that could be used with the addition of one M. The world could easily be seen in the archetypal and more resourceful word wound or womb. Showing to the new formed saint, opening to the blood of day, he held to the path of sorrow, the clearing of the fence. 6. The lovers. Understanding to beauty, darkness to light. Letter equals Z. It means weapon. The new formed saint being the coming generation before him. Show him to open the blood of day, is saying to bleed for the going of the heart, the clearing of the fence being his passing of the fence. Risen in the house of act and suffering. Note, risen in its word in root rose. The house being kingdom and castle, his reign as master of reality and command. Bowing to the feet of the learned priest, cult to the bath of wisdom, he closed the door of sin, the listening of the path. 5. The Hierophant. Mercy aspires wisdom. Letter W. It means nail. The priest as the sun. The aspirants of the coming generation are at his feet. Holding to the spear of destiny, crowned to the end of days. He ruled to the sun of writing wisdom, the guarding of the day. 4. The Emperor. Wisdom over beauty. Letter Ts. Means fish hook. The king sits. The spear could be interchanged with spirit, once drawn from the mother. He stands tall from his work and journey, leading to the past of mending, stand to the final raise. He rested to the wound of the window, the sinking of the weight. 3. The Empress. Wisdom toward understanding. Father toward mother. Letter D. Means door. He stores his heart for the last time before his crucifixion. Crossed. In the crown of past memory. Crossed the abyss. Breached the point of return. He becomes guardian of the world. Note crossed in its word and root cross, rosy cross, etc. Ascending to the throne of majesty, bound to the moonlit rain, he flew to the breast of the window, the rising of the weights. 2. The high priestess, the crown or god, godhead, etc. to beauty, passing between the abyss. Letter G means camel. The rising of the weights being the heart and sin forgiven and risen toward the house of heaven. Standing to the gate of paradise, bathing to the heaven's light, he said to the world of the afterlife, the key of the flight. 1. The magician, understanding to the crown, God. Letter B means house. The magician as the word, the logos, the mouth. Returning to the womb, rebirthed, born again. Rising to the past of wishfulness, flight to the final of time, he sent to the wound of the window, the fish of the light. Ain, the fool. Wisdom to crown, God. Letter A means ox. Returning to the womb as rebirth incomplete, he sends the semen to the womb of the window, or partner, etc., giving to her womb the fish of the light. November 15, 2008. Wisdom. Hey, welcome to my church. I am your savior. This is it, fools. Ha ha ha. November 17, 2008. Crown. Hey, so death. Haha. November 18, 2008. Ain. Hey, to die. God. What? I did not want this. Haha. November 19, 2008. Ain soap. Listen. Transformation of saints. What? November 22, 2008. Ain sub R. This is it. Noon. November 24, 2008. Osiris. Adam Patrick Kopecki. Total Art Opera. The Throne of Destiny. In August 31, 2006. Thy Heart of Reeking Sin. Then November 24, 2008. The Light that Gloweth Before the Castle Hall. Sword and Plate. November 24, 2008.